Welcome back to GH Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the issue surrounding Jocelyn's secret activities and how they're about to create a storm in Port Charles that will forever change family dynamics and relationships. The revelation of Jocelyn's independent decisions and her involvement with the WSB is poised to become the catalyst for significant drama in Port Charles. As a young adult forging her own path, Jocelyn's choices reflect her determination to establish an identity separate from her family's notorious connections. Whether she'll heed her mother's inevitable concerns remains a mystery that will unfold in upcoming episodes. The complex mother-daughter relationship between Carly and Jocelyn has always been characterized by tension and fierce protection, making this development particularly explosive for their dynamic. The impending confrontation. Carly Spencer's reaction to her daughter's clandestine activities promises to be nothing short of volcanic. When the truth emerges about Jocelyn's involvement in Cyrus Renault's death and her secret WSB training, Carly will likely experience a whirlwind of emotions, from shock and disbelief to rage and profound disappointment. Her maternal instincts, always operating in overdrive, will kick into high gear as she processes this betrayal of trust. The revelation will be especially painful given Carly's own complicated history with Port Charles's criminal underworld through her marriage to Sonny Corinthos. Having witnessed firsthand the dangers and consequences of mob life, Carly has always sought to shield her children from similar entanglements. Jocelyn's deliberate steps into a dangerous world represent not just a rejection of her mother's protection but also a disturbing echo of the very life Carly has tried to help her avoid. Brennan's deception exposed. Jack Brennan's role in concealing Jocelyn's activities will prove to be the ultimate test for his budding romance with Carly. His decision to withhold such critical information about her daughter will likely be perceived as an unforgivable breach of trust. The revelation threatens to unravel all the progress they've made in building their relationship, potentially destroying any foundation of honesty they've established. The timing of this exposure couldn't be more dramatic, coming just as their romance appeared to be strengthening. Brennan's motivations for keeping Jocelyn's secrets will be scrutinized. Was he protecting Jocelyn, respecting her autonomy, or simply avoiding Carly's wrath? Whatever his reasoning, Carly is unlikely to view his silence as anything but betrayal, especially concerning matters involving her daughter's safety and legal jeopardy. The aftermath of Cyrus's death. Jocelyn's involvement in Cyrus Renault's death represents a shocking turning point for her character. This revelation will force Port Charles residents to re-evaluate their perception of Jocelyn, who has generally been seen as one of the more moral and straightforward young adults in town. The circumstances surrounding this deadly encounter will surely be examined in detail, raising questions about self-defense, justice, and the psychological impact of taking a life. The legal ramifications could be severe, despite her WSB connections. This development might draw other characters into the fray, including law enforcement officials like Dante Falconeri and legal minds such as Diane Miller. How the town will react to learning that Jocelyn was responsible for eliminating one of Port Charles's most dangerous threats will add another layer of complexity to this unfolding drama. WSB training revelations. Jocelyn's secret WSB training suggests a deliberate career choice that will shock many who know her. This path represents a dramatic departure from her previous interests and educational pursuits, raising questions about what prompted this radical shift. Her training with the World Security Bureau indicates a level of commitment and determination that few suspected she possessed. This career choice carries echoes of her father Jasper Jack's occasional entanglements with international intrigue, as well as the adventures of her extended family members like Anna Devane and Robert Scorpio. Perhaps Jocelyn has been influenced by these connections more than anyone realized, seeking to forge her own legacy in the world of international espionage and security rather than following in the footsteps of either Carly or Jax's business empires. Family dynamics in crisis. The Spencer Corinthos Jax family web will be severely tested by these revelations. Siblings like Michael Corinthos and Donna Corinthos will be drawn into the conflict, forced to take sides or act as mediators between Carly and Jocelyn. Extended family members may also weigh in, offering perspectives that could either heal or further fracture the family bonds. Jocelyn's independence has always been a point of pride for her, but this situation will push the boundaries of family loyalty and respect to their limits. The question of whether blood ties can withstand such significant breaches of trust will be central to the family's journey forward. These developments may also resurrect old wounds and conflicts within the family, particularly regarding Carly's own checkered past and the standards she holds for her children. Port Charles community impact. The ripple effects of Jocelyn's secrets will extend beyond her immediate family to impact various relationships throughout Port Charles. Her friendship with Trina Robinson and Cameron Weber will face new challenges as they process this previously unknown side of their friend. Her romantic entanglements will be complicated by these revelations, potentially creating distance or drawing her closer to those who understand her choices. The broader Port Charles community will also react to the news of Cyrus's death and Jocelyn's involvement with the WSB. Some may view her as a hero for eliminating a threat, while others might question the morality of her actions and secrecy. This community response will add pressure to an already volatile situation, potentially influencing how Jocelyn processes the public exposure of her private decisions. The coming weeks in Port Charles promise explosive confrontations, emotional revelations, and relationship dynamics forever altered by secrets too significant to remain buried. As Jocelyn stands at the crossroads of her future, the choices she makes in response to this exposure will define not just her character but the trajectory of multiple storylines throughout Port Charles. Next, we will learn about the issue of Anna and Valentin's relationship breakdown and the heartbreaking circumstances that have potentially ended one of Port Charles's most compelling romances forever. The uncertain future of Vana. Do you think this is the end of Vana? This question lingers in the minds of devoted General Hospital viewers who have witnessed the painful dissolution of what many considered to be a perfect pairing. The relationship between these two complex characters has traversed a landscape of espionage, family drama, and ultimately, devastating betrayal. While soap opera romances often experience resurrections that defy all logic and probability, the circumstances surrounding Anna and Valentin's separation seem particularly insurmountable. The emotional weight of their final encounter suggests a finality rarely seen in daytime television. The poignant exchange of glances, laden with unspoken regrets and lingering affection, communicated volumes about their complicated history and the tragic turn of events that drove them apart. Veteran viewers recognize that while the show's writers have penned the phrase "the end" for countless couples over the decades, few partings have felt as definitive as this one. However, the soap opera landscape is notorious for its unpredictability. Characters presumed dead for years suddenly reappear, and relationships deemed irreparable mysteriously find paths to reconciliation. The writers have masterfully left a sliver of ambiguity in their farewell scene, just enough to kindle hope in the hearts of dedicated Vana supporters who refuse to relinquish their investment in this star-crossed couple. Valentin's uncertain fate. Will we ever see Valentin back in Port Charles? That remains to be seen. The ambiguous nature of his departure creates a narrative tension that keeps viewers engaged while allowing the writer's flexibility for future storylines. Valentin's character has always operated in morally gray territories, making his potential demise or permanent exile equally plausible outcomes. The WSB's relentless pursuit presents a formidable obstacle to Valentin's return. As a former operative himself, he understands better than most the organization's tenacity and global reach. His decision to send Charlotte home while remaining on the run himself demonstrates both his paternal sacrifice and his realistic assessment of his dire situation. The intelligence community has long memories, and Valentin's involvement with pikemen has branded him as a high-priority target with few allies remaining in positions of power. The emotional farewell between Anna and Valentin carried undertones of a man who doesn't expect to survive his current predicament. His body language, the lingering touch of his hand against hers, and the resignation in his eyes all suggested a man making peace with his fate rather than plotting his next strategic move. For a character defined by his ability to outmaneuver his adversaries, This acceptance of potential defeat represents a significant character evolution. Yet Valentin Cassadine has cheated death before. His resourcefulness and strategic brilliance have extricated him from seemingly impossible situations throughout his tumultuous history in Port Charles. If he does manage to evade the WSB and eventually return, the question becomes whether enough time will have passed to heal the wounds between him and Anna, or if his reappearance would simply reopen barely healed emotional scars. Charlotte's return and lingering resentments. In the meantime, Charlotte is on her way back to her mom, Lulu, and may never forgive Anna. This homecoming promises to introduce new complications to an already tangled web of relationships. Charlotte's psychological state remains fragile after her Cassadine conditioning, and her perception of Anna as the woman who shot her and separated her from her father has been reinforced during their time on the run. The young Cassadine heir carries the emotional burden of divided loyalties and traumatic experiences that would challenge even the most well-adjusted adult. Her return to Port Charles places her at the center of a complex family dynamic, with her mother Lulu still recovering from her own medical traumas, and extended family members each harboring their own agendas regarding her future. Charlotte's grandmother Laura, as mayor of Port Charles, will face the delicate balance of protecting her granddaughter while maintaining her official responsibilities. Charlotte's resentment toward Anna represents more than typical teenage angst. It embodies the generational continuation of the Cassadine-Devane conflict that has spanned decades. Her inability to forgive may manifest in concerning ways as she reintegrates into Port Charles society. The psychological conditioning she experienced under Cassadine influence could resurface in unpredictable patterns, particularly when confronted with Anna's presence in the community they both call home. The potential for Charlotte to become a catalyst for future conflict between Anna and any returning Valentin cannot be underestimated. Her perspective on events, colored by both her father's influence and her own traumatic experiences, positions her as a wildcard in any potential reconciliation scenario. Her journey toward healing or further embitterment will significantly impact the trajectory of multiple character arcs in the coming months. The emotional farewell. When Anna and Jason came to get Charlotte, she and her ex had a touching moment. They both knew he may not live through this, so they said their goodbyes. This scene, fraught with emotional subtext and unresolved feelings, demonstrated the exceptional chemistry that made Vana a favorite among viewers. Despite everything that had transpired between them, their connection remained palpable. The location chosen for this farewell, a remote safe house far from the familiar settings of Port Charles, served as a metaphor for how far they had strayed from the relationship they once built together. The Spartan surroundings contrasted sharply with the luxurious environments where their romance had blossomed, emphasizing the stripped-down, essential nature of their final interaction. Jason Morgan's presence during this intimate moment added another layer of complexity. As Anna's current ally and Valentin's longtime adversary, Jason represented the new reality Anna had been forced to accept. The silent tension between the two men spoke volumes about the shifting alliances and pragmatic decisions that define life in their dangerous world. The farewell itself was masterfully understated, avoiding melodramatic declarations in favor of meaningful glances and brief touches that communicated years of shared history. Valentin's decision to entrust Charlotte to Anna, despite everything, revealed his enduring faith in her fundamental goodness, a faith that persisted even after their relationship had shattered beyond repair. Valentin's life on the run. Things had become much too dangerous for them as the WSB is on their trail, so Valentin knew it was time for his daughter to go home. The life of a fugitive had taken its toll on both father and daughter, forcing them to constantly relocate, assume new identities, and abandon any semblance of normalcy. Valentin's extensive training and connections provided them temporary sanctuary, but the resources of the World Security Bureau eventually narrowed their options to an untenable few. Their months on the run transformed both characters in significant ways. For Charlotte, the adventure initially held a certain romantic appeal that quickly faded as the reality of constant vigilance and isolation set in. For Valentin, watching his daughter sacrifice her youth and stability for his mistakes became an unbearable burden that ultimately influenced his decision to send her home. The WSB's pursuit represented more than a simple manhunt, it symbolized the inescapable consequences of Valentin's choices. His involvement with pikemen crossed lines that even his former colleagues could not overlook, and the organization's determination to bring him to justice intensified with each passing week. Intelligence reports suggested that the net was closing, with operatives identified in increasingly close proximity to their hiding places. Valentin's decision to separate from Charlotte came not from weakness but from the clearest expression of paternal love, prioritizing her safety and future above his own freedom and desire to remain with his daughter. This sacrifice echoed his complex character development throughout his years in Port Charles, where his devotion to Charlotte consistently emerged as his most redeeming quality. The glimpses of life in hiding. Dad and daughter have been on the run for months, but we have seen a few glimpses of them since they left. These brief vignettes provided viewers with tantalizing insights into their fugitive existence while maintaining the narrative tension of their precarious situation. Each appearance revealed subtle changes in both characters, Charlotte growing more reserved and watchful, Valentin's confident demeanor gradually eroding under the constant pressure. Their hiding places ranged from anonymous urban apartments to remote rural cabins, each location carefully chosen to balance security concerns with Charlotte's educational and emotional needs. Valentin attempted to maintain some semblance of normalcy for his daughter, creating makeshift classrooms and celebrating important milestones despite their circumstances. These efforts highlighted both his resourcefulness and his growing awareness that their situation was ultimately unsustainable. Communication with the outside world remained dangerously limited, though Valentin occasionally risked brief, encrypted messages to select contacts. These communications served practical purposes while also keeping certain relationships alive, a digital lifeline to the world they had left behind. The psychological toll of this isolation manifested differently in father and daughter. Charlotte withdrew into herself while Valentin's legendary self-control showed increasing signs of strain. Their final safe house, where the handover would eventually occur, represented both their most secure location and the site of their inevitable separation. Valentin had chosen it specifically for this purpose, ensuring multiple escape routes for himself while providing a relatively safe environment for Charlotte's return to her previous life. Anna's act of mercy. Anna let Valentin get away with Charlotte before he could be arrested. This momentous decision represented a significant departure from Anna's typically rigid moral code and professional obligations. As a lifetime agent committed to justice and order, allowing Valentin to escape with Charlotte contradicted her fundamental principles but aligned with her deeper understanding of the complex situation. Her choice in that critical moment revealed the internal conflict that has defined Anna's character throughout her tenure in Port Charles. The professional agent and the compassionate woman have always existed in uneasy balance, with neither aspect fully dominating her decision-making process. In this instance, her personal connection to both Valentin and Charlotte outweighed her professional responsibilities, leading to a choice that would have profound consequences for all involved. The aftermath of this decision haunted Anna professionally and personally. Within the WSB, questions about her loyalty and judgment created tension with colleagues and superiors. In Port Charles, her reputation suffered as details of Valentin's crimes and her role in his escape became public knowledge. Even those closest to her questioned whether emotional entanglement had compromised her judgment beyond repair. Anna's internal justification for her actions centered on Charlotte's welfare rather than Valentin's freedom. She recognized that separating a traumatized young woman from her only stable parent figure would inflict additional psychological damage on someone already struggling with the aftermath of Cassadine manipulation. This rationalization provided cold comfort during sleepless nights when she questioned whether she had betrayed everything she claimed to stand for. The breaking point. There was no way Vana could stay together after something like that. The shooting incident created an unbridgeable chasm between two people who had once seemed perfectly matched. The tragedy crystallized the fundamental incompatibility between Valentin's secretive nature and Anna's need for honesty, particularly regarding matters of safety in family. The aftermath of Charlotte's shooting forced both characters to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and their relationship. For Anna, the incident highlighted how Valentin's deception had placed her in an impossible position where her training and instincts led to an action she would forever regret. For Valentin, it revealed the catastrophic consequences of his pattern of withholding crucial information from those closest to him.